Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's VMPF and on today's episode we're going to be covering another Firkin Whisky. Before we get into that, if you're watching this week of recording, and I hope you are, then I have to apologise for missing last week. It was Christmas and I just took a week off. Yeah, I put it on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter if you want to see more of that. But in any case, let's jump straight into this, and we've got another Firkin. Now you guys know, if you've been watching me for any length of time, you guys know I'm a big fan of Firkin. I've got a few of their bottles just over my shoulder here. Covered all of the bottles that I've got so far. This is the last one that I have in my review queue of theirs, but they're releasing new whiskies all the time, and I'll do my best to keep up with them where I can. This one then is the latest Firkin Rare. Now, I'm going to go into Firkin a little bit because I know a lot of you who have seen my videos will know this about Firkin already, but just in case Firkin is new to you, they're an independent bottler who make really interesting whiskies because they take a somewhat relatively unknown whiskey, like for example this one's a Teaninich. Now that one there, you're not going to see that very often as a core release. They've got one core release, the Flora and Fauna 10-year-old, but you will see it in independent bottles. It's a Diageo owned distillery and a lot of that's going to go into their blends. I'm not sure exactly percentages, but it goes in there. So yeah, if you really want to try Teaninich, then you're going to be trying it indie bottling or that one core bottle. So yeah, they're picking kind of distilleries and casks that are not necessarily the kind of mainstream stuff. There's, bits and bobs, whatever, but whatever they can get their hands on that's interesting. Now, so those are in casks already. Now what they then do is create a new cask by breaking down two other casks. So in this case, it'll be something like an ex-bourbon and a European oak, and remixing those staves together to create a new barrel, and then seasoning that with some kind of fortified wine that they're pairing with that core liquid, and then we get what we get after that. So it is technically single cask, but obviously it's not a one cask that was filled and then has sat in that the whole time. There's been some transferring and some interesting things, but yeah, by the end of it, it is a single cask that is tipped and into this. So this one here then is a Tawny Port. But as I was saying earlier about the Rare, so this is the Firkin Rare. They have four kind of key brands. They have the Firkin 10, they have the Firkin 49, they have the Firkin Rare, and they have the Firkin Isla. Now, if you want to see more information about those ones there, go and check out some of my other reviews because the different flavour profiles are kind of important. But the Rare one, this brand name here, it changes a little bit. The Altmore was one that really got me into Firkin in the first place, and I've tried a few of their Rares since then. But this one here is just a kind of a new inflection on that. So yeah, lots of information there, but yeah, ultimately what we have here is a Teaninich aged in a custom built cask that's been kind of, I guess, finished or seasoned in Tawny Port. So if that all sounds good to you, then hopefully you keep watching and you can see what I think about this thing. A little bit more information about the bottle here. So here you can see, it's a lovely, good design. We like this, and there's more information down on here below. If you want to pause, you can check it out. But you can see all this information on the website. This is being sold by Top Whiskies. It's the only place in the UK where you can get this right now, if it isn't auction or whatever. But you know me, I don't recommend that sort of thing. All of them are bottled at 48.9%, and all of them are sold at £69. So the value really is going to be whether you are interested in that core liquid and that seasoning and that kind of profile mixed together. But I'll go into that a little bit later on. The other key piece of information is this is a 2009 vintage, although I'm not exactly sure when this was bottled. So we're sort of guessing roughly around that sort of 10, 11-year-old mark, which is interesting in itself because the only core release I said was the 10-year-old. So yeah, we've whittled on about that enough. Let's have a look at the actual whiskey and see what we've got. Now this is obviously presented at non-chill filtered, no added colour, so we can say this has got a good decent colour in it. And the colour does change. For example, the Tully Barden, which I can get just behind me. You can see if I get the bottles for comparison, you can see that there is a difference in colour there. So natural colour, way forward. Let's just put that back rather unprofessionally. So let's get onto the nose then. Now this reminds me of when I first tried a Firkin, because I like my big bold flavours. I like my my smoky, my peatiness right now. But it was such an interesting dynamic to have the Altmore and mixed in with its fortified wine. And this is the same, you know, it's like a super fruity nose. It's apples and pears, but it's also mixed in with a bunch of hedgerow fruits, like kind of bramble fruits, that kind of thing. Mixed in with, you know, a bunch of like cereal oatiness. I mean, if I was getting really out there, I would say this is like this is like a blackberry cheesecake. I think this is what it smells like. You know, we're getting some vanillas in there, we're getting some kind of honeys in there, some biscuity elements, some fruity elements. That's what I'm getting. Let's try on the palate and see what we've got. I mean, it's like an absolute fruit explosion. There's some alcoholic spiciness coming on. It's like a, not quite cinnamon, but a kind of black cracked peppery vibe coming on. But I have to say, you know, at the risk of not giving many tasting notes here, that blackberry cheesecake is really the vibe. You know, this is really the vibe. The nose translates well into the palate. So again, we're getting those kind of vanillas, those blackberries, whatever. And it's really coming out of that kind of blackberry cheesecake vibe for me. The finish is kind of medium long. It's got a spiciness at the back end. The fruitiness disappears a little bit, but that's no big problem. So yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, you guys know I like Firkin, and I don't tend to pick up the bottles that I'm not interested in. Although I'm only missing a few. There's a couple that I think I missed. You know, a few like the Firkin Isla, for instance, have it's just Kalila, and they release batch after batch after batch of that. The Rare changes the distillery and the cask type. But the one thing I can sort of tell you here, if you're really looking for a kind of an idea about what I think of this, I bought this as a full bottle, and you know, it's been sat on my review queue for probably 6 months, but I've not been able to keep my paws off it. My grubby mitts have been on this a lot, because, and this is the thing, usually I leave bottles alone when they're in my review queue because I want to review them before I drink them, and I just can't. I keep getting it out to show people. I keep getting out to show versus the other ones, versus the Altmore, which again, rather unprofessionally, I'll reach for. So, you know, we've done side by sides with these. This is the Altmore, and it's also Tawny Port, and I have to say it's a dividing field. You know, there are people that prefer this, there are people that prefer this. Really hard to say. So, yeah, as I say with all of my Firkin videos, the way to go about them, if you're not sure, I do implore you to try them. You know, if you're worldwide, I think they do cover some other countries, but don't try too hard to get these. You know, don't be spending more than the asking price already. But if you're able to get them, like I am if you're in the UK, I think if you're in Australia, Japan, maybe Germany, I think you can get hold of these. But have a look at the cask that's available and the distillery that they're blending with. Blending's the wrong word, but you know what I mean, mixing with. So again, in this case, Teaninich, Tawny Port. If that sends like alarm bells to you, must have that, get it. If that doesn't, don't get that one. You know, we've had Leipzig, we've had Kalila, we've had Altmore, we've had Tullibardine, we've had Linkwoods. You know, all these kind of real major distilleries that like whiskey nerds like me and you that we know of, and they're kind of like our little secret. That's what the kind of things they're going for. So yeah, check out the websites that wherever you can get them. If the two things match for you, if the, you know, again, the distillery and the fortified wine match for you, just give it a go, because I don't think you'll be disappointed. I've liked every single bottle that I've had. Some not so much as the others, like for instance probably the Tullibardine is my least favourite, and maybe the value there is a little bit diminished for my personal taste preferences. But for here, that asking price, it's a bit of a snippet for me. I'm really happy with it. This isn't going to last very long. I think you're going to see this on a wee pretty soon. But there you go. In case I haven't given it to you often enough, I think it's about time you tried some Firkin. I think that's fair enough to say. Catch you again on more videos.